Good morning and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. The book of Judges in the Bible fascinates me. At the time, Israel wasn't very organized as a nation and were more a loose confederation without centralized government or leaders. Theologically, they were supposed to have God as their leader and follow the ways and words of God. In practice, that didn't work so well, and there's a pattern that evolves throughout the book. The people walk with God for a while, then they fall away from God. God raises up another nation to oppress them, and they cry out to God for help. Then God raises up a deliverer called a judge who frees them, and the people walk with God again. Then the pattern repeats. Some of the judges you know: Deborah, Gideon, Samson, and Samuel. This week we are looking at humor in the Bible, but let me remind you that the humor in the Bible tends to be irony and trickery and unexpected twists. We have something like that today as the oppressed people get the better of the one in power, and it involves a judge you've likely not heard much about, Ehud. Ehud's story is found in Judges 3, and at the time it was the Moabites who were oppressing Israel. Again, remember that God had raised up the Moabites to oppress Israel so that Israel would be impelled back to God. When they were, the deliverer God raised up was Ehud. The Moabite king was a man named Eglon, and you need to know that the Bible describes Eglon as being very, very fat. Ehud happened to be left-handed, so he made a two-edged sword about 18 inches long and fastened it to his right leg under his cloak. Then he joined in with the group bringing the tribute gift to Eglon, as the conquered nations often do. They presented him the tribute gift, and then they left. But Ehud turned back, saying that he had a secret message for the king. The guards searched Ehud to be sure, but swords were carried on the left leg to be drawn by a right-handed person, and so that's where they searched him. They didn't search his right leg because that was unheard of to carry a sword there. Ehud told the king that he had a secret message, so Eglon sent everyone out of the cool roof chamber where he was resting. Ehud drew near and told the king that he had a message from God. So Eglon stood up to receive it, and Ehud drew his sword and thrust it into Eglon's belly. Again, the Bible's description is very vivid, saying that the sword went in all the way past the hilt and that the fat closed over it. Then Eglon left the roof chamber and locked the doors behind him. Eglon's servants found the door locked and said to themselves, "Perhaps the king is relieving himself in the cool chamber." And they waited outside while they supposed Eglon was using the potty. The Bible says they waited and waited until they became embarrassed themselves. They broke in and found Eglon dead on the floor. Meanwhile, Ehud made his escape. Now, there's lots of humor there in that story already, but there's more that a little deeper look reveals. Ehud was a member of the tribe of Benjamin, which literally means son of the south. Ancient Israel oriented themselves by direction toward the east, so if you are looking east, south would be to the right. So it would not have escaped those Israelites hearing this story that a son of the south, or the right hand, was left-handed. Then we can turn to King Eglon, and his very name would have been a source of amusement in the story too. The name Eglon comes from the same Hebrew root as the word for a fatted calf, the kind one prepared for a sacrifice. They would have been greatly amused that Eglon became a sacrifice to free them from oppression, killed by a left-handed son of the right side. Sometimes there's a cruel side to humor, and there may be parts of that cruelty in this story. Nevertheless, Ehud's crafty action led to their deliverance from the Moabites. That, at least, is no laughing matter. That's a matter of salvation. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.